Thanks everyone. I declare the July meeting of the Warren July Council open, calling for apologies, and I understand there are apologies from Councillor Walker, Councillor Brewer. They've been only two I can see absent around the table. Someone happy to move those apologies? Thanks, Councillor Third and Councillor Derrick. No discussion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the minutes of our last ordinary meeting held on Thursday, 24th of June. Someone happy to move those minutes to make the record of that meeting? Councillor Sturdy, second. Councillor Drews. Councillor Sturdy.
No, been pretty good, thank you.
Any comments, questions, additions to those minutes before we put that? Being nothing, we'll put that. All those in favour? Yes. Carried. I remind you all there's a declaration of interest form there with the well. The council have a declaration of interest that they need to declare and fill out a form prior to continuing the meeting. Councillor Derrick, and you've done that?
Yes.
And it's in relation to?
In relation to the same item as the last meeting, I think it'll be consistent and appropriate for me to declare interest again. There is no new information, but I think there is to be discussion to lack of empty room. So that's the report of the Divisional Finance and Administration, item 3, Works Progress Report.
Thank you, Councillor Derrick. It's duly noted. There are no mural minutes. Moving on to item 6 on your agenda, the reports of the committees. The first of those being the meeting of the Town Improvement Committee held Tuesday, 29th of June. Is someone happy to move that? Moving the recommendation, Councillor Taylor. Seconded, Councillor Drews. Councillor Taylor.
Mr Mayor, you can see there's quite a few points that we discussed and was put up as a 10-year plan. Obviously, most of it's relying heavily on funding, grant funding that is. I will note the point E there with respect to the roundabout. That's been ongoing for 12 or 15 years, I think. There's been extensive plans done from both us and what was the RTO, the RMS, and I think that's a priority that we need to progress with, which will lead to probably the next part, which is, I think, is Q, and that's the resurfacing between Hale Street and Reeford Street, which I think would be beneficial for the main business section. All the other points are there that are put in. Apart from that, we had, as I said, we had a meeting with the Lions Club, and that's ongoing to try and find grants funding for their toilet facility. The toilet facility location has been decided. The plan has not been yet done for the whole park. That's seating, barbecue, parks and so forth. That's forthcoming. And Councillor Irving's question there, the signs have been removed from the building.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Just a couple of additional points. Councillor Taylor, the information centre sign has also been removed above the building. Engineering says there still is a sign coming into town from Gilgandra. Today. It's the third one down on the intersection of Wilson and Campbell. There's two there, right? Okay. Thank you. You're more observant than I. And that'll come down, and there is council information, certainly a brown information sign that will be 500 metres from the warehouse and coming in on the Gilgandra Road. I don't know whether it's one on this side, yeah, on this other side. So that sort of helps in centering people to the WOW Centre as the place to go for information regarding tourism.
There's two more signs, the two near the right near the centre pointing into the centre.
Oh, okay. So I didn't see them, but they're not there yet. Right, thank you. Very good.
And we just have to work out whether we can do something professional over the top of the information centre sign actually on the board.
other suggestion that has come about, Councillor Taylor, for that committee is consideration of potentially a green space within the CBD, as in a park, town square type area. I don't know the possibilities for that. I know council owns that one small block of land next to the former North Nursery Cafe, but whether there's room for someone or something, or a building space, the building could be removed, that then opens up the CBD for basically you buy a takeaway cup of coffee and you go and sit down, or you can move around, or you say you meet people at the square. I think it's the de facto one on the steps of the Spark car park there, but that's not exactly what we're looking for. But I wonder whether that may be something that the town improvement committee consider, given that it has been raised by a couple of people to the meeting. So that up to you on that one, Councillor.
Take that on notice and please put that for the next meeting, because we haven't into that, or can you do that now to have that?
I mean, no, these are all suggestions, things to be considered, so it's not a set concrete thing, it's just a matter of, these are some good ideas, let's get them out there on the plan.
And it's also, I mean, the engineers are going to try out things a little bit more after this resolution, start the ball rolling with some form of community, as per the resolution, if the council fixes it today, tidy up the plans, start putting it out there every way possible, but prepare ourselves for a big grant at the end of the year application.
Through the contractors will be here subject to COVID. I remember one comes from Ballina, one's from here on Friday week. I think it is Friday the 5th or the 6th. And we'll be doing a fairly heavy inspection on that day to analyse all of these things. So then we'll come back with the draft plan.
Any further comments, questions on the minutes of the town improvement committee? Thank you. Being nothing further, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the second of our committee reports, that of the road committee held Wednesday the 30th of June. Anyone happy to move that report? Councillor Bruce, sorry. Councillor Bruce, second. Second that one, Councillor Jarrett. Councillor Bruce?
Yep, yes, we, as we see, we acknowledge that the works have been constructed on 3 different roads, the Warren Road, Elmdale Road, Nevertile Road. The fixing local branch round where there were a few items put in there for consideration, and we're hoping that we'll get a few of those. Maybe not all of them, but and I might defer over to the manager of engineering on the natural disaster declaration program, please.
Mr. Chairman, the flood declaration's been approved. We've not appointed a contractor from Queensland because of their popularity down there and their experience, successful experience with two of our neighbours. Improved work, as I said earlier, improved work yesterday or this morning on the inspections. That's appointed, one of their appointed ones, because they can't come down from Queensland themselves with border restrictions. They would prefer a submission, and obviously we'll get a copy of it. That will be submitted to the transport for approval. At this point in time, it's too early for them and I to indicate any claims whatsoever. It's quite a few sizable ones that I can speak of, and one of them was out on Merrill Road where the floodways washed away, and big pipe or culverts have moved downstream. The other one's intersection or on the road between the Collar Trinity Road, just past our border, where there's been a big scale at a small floodway that's there. They're two of the bigger ones. I think we'll we should be successful with getting some recompense for those. The other ones, I think they should have picked up most of the other points, but I've still got no idea of what the outcome's going to be until they give us some report. I think it's been quite successful.
Just on the local road program, they will, all our applications with due to 8 as per that was the last council resolution, last meeting. So they all went in prior to the closing date.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the closing date was Friday the 6th. 15th or 16th, whichever it was. And our last one went in on the Thursday. It was probably about 3 days behind the other ones. The bitumen reseal one, which is fairly time consuming because the federal work involved in it. Spending 1.3 on the different segments of those. So that one was submitted. So we've got 8 submitted. They've all been confirmed and been being received. And when our last one went in, I felt rather comfortable because it was only 47, it was number 47 that was received. But I imagine on the Friday,
10,000, they're on with the
deadline might be
the deadline would have been very much pushed.
we just wanted their computer system to fail, and we have 8 out of the 47, and then 8 out of 8. We've got that conduit of how we fund it. I think the finance manager would be.
Brackley?
Oh, he'd find the money, wouldn't he?
Anyway, let's wait and see. When will those be announced?
Mr. Chairman, I very much political announcement.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the roads committee meeting? Nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the meeting of the Foreign Public Arts Committee held Monday the 5th of July. Mover, Councillor Thursday, thank you. Second, Councillor Irving. Councillor
Yeah, we have a meeting on July, and we just, one of the main things that we did was we just tidied up the minutes, and some of the issues that were in those minutes that didn't need to be there, we just need to clarify. So, sorry, I can't wait. We've gone through them, we've tidied them up, we've been able to get some clarification on some issues with the sculpture program works. So that's all been clarified. We've sent the email off to Sam Brooks, pardon me. And I've had a reply from him to say that he's just currently on a big project and he's working on that and evening to research and what have you. We've given him the specs of what we want to put in those murals, so I'm just waiting to hear back from him now and then hoping again to extend it. It's problems, so I think that's probably what's hoping enough. We still have to go through our master plan booklet that we were given, and it wasn't really, we never actually sat down and gone through it, but we, that's one thing we need to do. We're going to have a workshop on it to make sure that it covers all of the areas that we need to cover. We had an email from Councillor Irving with a couple of things that needed to be included in that, so they'll all be addressed when we get around to having that meeting. Haven't done anything as yet with regards to putting out expressions of interest for the Nevertart community as to what they'd like to see on that tower. I have had a few suggestions back because I've been putting out the just unofficial feelers, but we need to get on top of that once we find out. If not, if this been put through this meeting, then we can fire away and start putting out expressions of interest within the communities of what they'd like to see, and then we will start going out further to the various artists. I don't think I've missed anything. I'm more than happy to address something if you think I have, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thurdy. Yes, I think that the important thing Nevertart will be getting that consultation process right, so that when coming back when you have a concept plan to people in Nevertart, particularly saying, are you happy with this? So, yeah, few stages to get through, but if we can start the process informally as you have done, and then a more formal process, yeah, I think that's excellent. Thank you.
Just one thing if I can, when I get to doing that, do I need to get the council to send in an official letter to the various organisations or just the general community, like a letterbox drop?
Between council officers and myself, we'll attempt to make sure we actually don't miss anyone and try to get to any consultation
Excellent.
meetings. We have to work out whether we can come up with some sort of idea that people would start commenting on and adding to, and be, we'll hasten slowly.
I think it's, yes, exactly.
I have had a few community members come back with ideas, so I can tell you what those are.
Yes, but
Thank you.
Mr Mayor, just be careful that the minutes of these meetings are starting to become very, very busy. You need to make sure you have a good understanding of what's in there and what's being recommended to the council and what's actually progressing as an officer / committee progression on all of the minutes. We're just making sure that the minutes and any action sheets are actually fairly busy, so we know the direction we're going. Please note that. If you worry about something, ask so we can clarify.
Councillor Williams, something go ahead.
Just a question, just, with the Nevertide Tower, that come along, that's got pushed forward probably a fair way because of what's been getting done there. Because why don't try refurnishing the inside, we're sandblasting the outside, and we're going to paint the outside. So it's perfect time to get the right paint on the outside and prime, because that's a massive cost. That's a 33 grand cost just to clean up the outside and get it prime. So the discussion through the chairman, through council, the right primer will be put on that outside of that tower to clarify. Just has been a bit of discussion about what paint we're going to use.
Yep.
So that will be no problem. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williams, for pointing that out. I think that's just so important. Just do it once, do it properly. We're in that space, so yes. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the Warren Public Arts Committee meeting minutes and the recommendations coming out of that committee? In case we put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Now to the meeting of the Warren Airport Operations Committee held on the 6th of July. Councillor Williamson, you're happy to move that. Second, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Williamson.
I'll just go through some points. First one's the runway, 03021, which is the gravel runway, with the storm water that's been down the bottom. Hopefully that'll be done in the next few weeks. So we're just waiting for it to be dried out. So the contractors can actually get back to do that. They're doing that on behalf of the regional deal, so it's not costing Warren Shire any money. That's fine. The terminal building's in the same position. We're trying to get it dry enough so we can put a pad there, then hopefully we'll be able to get some local contractors to be able to do that job. The letter to Macquarie Valley Ag Services for the land sale. We're just trying to get the letter right to be stamped so we can get all the legal stuff right. Just we've got to, BPA's involved as well, so we're just trying to get all the guidelines right so it's done properly. That's where that one's up to. Both parties are keen to go forward, so there's no hassles there. Bit of good news, the RFS building looks like it's going to go ahead out there at the airport. That's another building out at the airport which will make the airport structure go forward. Fuel, we have sold fuel, which is great, but because we had one slight problem. We're flying with a thing called ERSA through CASA, where you every year you put a notification to ERSA. So in the book when you fly it says it's fuel in Warren. That notification was sent from Warren Shire Council, but it got missed by CASA, it didn't get through. So now we put it at CASA has said they're going to do an amendment in there, and that amendment goes through, but it's not properly done. So in the meantime, we're going to advertise in some flight magazines and some navigation systems called Outplan, Osrunways and OVA to try and get it out there that we've got to be ready. So basically it's only hearsay at the moment. So that's where that one's up to. The other one is for our, big one is the remote airport funding. We worked on a remote airport till about probably 12 months ago, and that's 50/50 funding. Last year, about, I think it was around September, October, we decided to wait 12 months to see what money was actually generated out of the airport to put into a fund to try and get this 50/50 funding, so we don't end up with no money to be spent at the airport. So September, October, that'll be worked out hopefully. We're still in negotiations with the airports for how they pay us for landing on the runway. At the moment, it's done through a second party, or third party, sorry. They take the commission out of it. We're trying to bypass that commission so we get the most value for Warranshire Council, so we get that money into the Warranshire Council area, so we put funding into it. That's one of the big ones there. Any other questions? Quite happy to answer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. I think the big issue is the main runway, isn't it, and taking, getting that sorted and seeking grant funding to enable us to have that as the sort of service that we're after, that will also handle the heavier RFPs.
That's correct. We're still chasing money. Whatever grants come applicable to the airport or infrastructure for airports, we are chasing. It's just, the bigger airports are getting the money. But we are remote funded now, and we've never had that before. So we've got a chance to try and make the airport better. So we hope, our medios or our
Improvements.
Infrastructure manager.
Infrastructure managers, sorry, they are chasing money. So hopefully down the track we might be able to get some good news. Thank you.
Any further comments, questions regarding the Airport Operations Committee? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the Meeting of the Economic Development Committee, Wednesday the 7th of July. Looking for a mover in the second, look at the recommendations there. Sorry, Councillor Derrick, second Councillor Bruce, Councillor Derrick.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was great to meet our new business development facilitator. We've been waiting a long time. He's here. Not physically all the time, but he is dividing his time 2.5 days between 2.5 days for Warranshire, 2.5 days for Walgett. So he will be here in the building at sometimes, obviously, particularly I guess in the early stages, getting familiar with the area and working out where to begin. I guess one of the biggest things that we need to sort out is to renew our economic development strategy and develop a new action plan. It's seen from the minutes that it was quite a long meeting and there was a lot discussed. So he certainly had a lot of notes to take and a lot of food for thought. So it was really a very productive meeting, and good to see where he takes that from there. That's about just it. There was a lot of discussion and I guess actions to be developed from Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Derrick. Yes, I think it was good to actually see pronounce his name Owen.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it's very confusing, well, a degree of confusion about how you pronounce Owen's name. Good to see him on the ground here. He will be Dubbo based, as I understand, that's what you're doing.
Yes.
But spending time working on it, the shires of Warren and Walgett, has been pretty beneficial of the funding arrangement. I think we did make it very clear to him. In my view, we started to go off on a fraction of a tangent, saying, it might involve other councils a little bit in the region, and I think it was very clear to him that his imprimatur was to the shires of Warren and Walgett. We need to probably keep pretty solid check on that. Understanding that he may need to liaise with other councils regarding tourism and those sort of things and how they fit with Warren, but it's a position that's peculiar to Warren and Walgett councils, and we need to see him on the ground a fair bit. Yes, it will take a little bit of time, I think, to understand where we are at present, but I think we'll only give him a fairly short timeframe to come on top of that. He seems a fairly capable fellow, having worked in rugby league marketing and rugby union with the East Club at the Cute Shield level. So he's in that sort of space. Seems capable. Won't be doing the real day-to-day sort of stuff, but at a fraction higher level, and hopefully helping us get the plans that we want to see implemented, actually implemented with grant funding and sourcing of new businesses to come to town if that's possible. And so we give him a whole lot of information to go away, thoughts to go away with. We'll meet with him again. We've got another meeting programmed in, did we?
Only in May, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really just information. You can imagine it's the middle of the caretaking period, but it's really just the same type of thing. That, I get to return a call from him from yesterday. He might be just reporting back to me thoughts that he started the process. And so we tried to make sure that every thought that we had, economic development wise, is in that initial meeting to start the ball going.
Councillor Beach?
Yeah, just regarding silos down there and the bridge, New South Wales farmers, delegates around here have been sort of just seeing our involvement. It's probably a good opportunity now with the economic development persons to liaise with them to go forward with silo usage and bridge.
Yeah, it's a real chicken and egg one, Councillor Beach, that one. State government suggesting that they won't help with the restatement of the bridge unless the GHA are actually operating the facility. GHA saying, well, we won't, and we're not likely to ever open that facility again, which is a hard thing to take, given that the previous wheat harvest was late last year, and then potential for another huge harvest this year. It's it takes a little bit of understanding with the grasping, but anyway, we'll continue to work on that situation. Now, if the bridge was reinstated, then you don't know what might happen. So it's a bit of a difficult bit of a to and fro there, but we'll continue to support New South Wales farmers, particularly in there, and give everything providing the funds. Anything else on the Councillor?
Just want to thank the General Manager for putting in a submission, obviously, to extend the boundary of the renewable energy zone of the Central West Orana region. So, yeah, I just want to ask the General Manager, do we know a time frame as to when we can expect a reply? Or
It's only just been acknowledged straight away and then nothing after that.
no worries.
I don't know whether, Mr. Mayor, we put a little bit of cat amongst pigeons, we're actually having the audacity to do a submission.
I think we've, so previous discount that you've done a wonderful job. I think we should be doing that. It puts ourselves out there. They know now what we desire as a shire, and unless we do that, they won't know. So I think it's good. And we're representing a lot of the groups in Warren that want that to move forward. We have to do that.
Yeah, that's a whole reasonable issue in that there is constraints capacity on the lines. So have another solar farm, has it got the capacity to actually move that power anywhere? And that's the general manager's been making some seeking information on that, and it really is an issue of how if we had more solar capacity, can be used somewhere. The transmission of it is the difficulty. So, anything further?
This one was
Yes.
I just want to commend the Economic Development Committee about with the tourism plan. That's just, I thought that's a wonderful thing because I think there is a lot more potential for Warren, as we all know, or as a shire, to harness that market of tourism. So with the museum and also murals, and there's also like just international connections now being developed through, such as like artist Kim Goldsmith. She has an exhibition opening in the UK, although she won't be there obviously, but it's a kind of a sisters project with the Macquarie Marshes and the marshes in the UK, marshland, which are both under the Ramsar allocation. So yeah, I think that we can just harness more of that international market as well.
Thank you.
That's kind of it easy up.
Any further comments, questions regarding the Mercury Economic Development Committee? Being nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Against? Carried. Moving on to the next meeting held on the 13th of July. Someone has to move those minutes and recommendations coming out of that meeting. Councillor Certainty. Second, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Certainty.
Yeah, I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Sorry, I've got a question that's come up there in the general business there, and I was going to ask later on, that the water leak roundabout, is that our responsibility?
I might defer to the Energy Services to bring up the speed of that one. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is our responsibility. The exact one, you'll notice at the moment that it's stopped working. That's friends of mine upstairs that have just turned it off. I don't know why it stopped. Nobody knows why it stopped running, but it has. And it does do it occasionally, as you'd be aware. We have got a program to, at the moment, there's no cut-offs for it. The mains going each direction across it, and we can't turn them off. We're going to be putting 3 valves in each side of the roundabout. They are positioned on a plan, so that we can actually turn that area off and leave it off, unless necessary with the property. But when the roundabout starts getting work, we will do some extensive excavation. You people would probably better realise than what I will, that there's a lot of concrete underneath that roundabout, and the challenges there if the lanes embedded into that concrete. So it will be developed. There is not much of going in the next month or so, and we will be looking at what we can do beyond that situation.
I'm understanding that the water, Councillor Taylor, is river water, is that?
That's correct. We've analysed it, taken samples of the water line and top and doubled it with river water, not the town water, so that, it's a lesser degree of specialised water that's not likely to affect any houses or anything that affect the domain. But we sort of still like to have it free if any leakage at sea.
So you wouldn't be spending any great money on there, given that the roundabout hopefully will be demolished and rebuilt.
No, we will spend a lot of money on the water mains, but not on the roundabout. And we're sort of confident that the valve will rectify the problem. And there's still circulation, because they all, like even Cobb Lane's got extensive mains in it, for water distribution. So anything that comes over the bridge, the river water comes over the bridge and is diverted appropriately through the system, and there's no loss of head in any other location where the place is produced. There's no sizable circulation. There are some 250mm mains, which is 10-inch, so they're very, very expensive, as are the valves, but they will be accommodated there. We have been informed that there are cut-ups there, but nobody can tell us where they are, and if we run into them, I'd say it'll be by accident. The condition they're in, we don't know how old they are, how well they've been maintained. If they haven't been maintained, they're probably in deplorable, unworkable condition. So,
Or don't exist.
or don't exist, that's more the case. That's what we think. We think people said, oh, we'll put valves in, but it's never happened. whoever made that statement since gone, right? And, that's where it's ended. We don't know whether what's exactly there or not. So it will be happening within the next month or so. It will be advertised. And a lot of the work will be undertaken at the night time. So if you don't affect any businesses, such as the hotel or anything else like that, down the track. Fortunately, it's river water, which will have a less.
Councillor Williams.
Points for him to go is probably in front of Les Reynolds. So you know where we're looking at, Les Reynolds there. Up in front of, before IGA, between the roundabout. But also in the corner of the, near the NAB being towards the corner of the roundabout as well.
Clean positions.
Yeah, they're best positioned on some maps to where they're
They're clean positions where, one of them is near the old entrance to beside the pharmacy and near the station. It's right outside the boundary of the roundabout, the proposed roundabout, there's a plan for the
just so businesses don't get disrupted, they're all going to have water still, so it's not.
Sorry?
Just so businesses in that area don't get disrupted, that's why the position of the valves is pretty important that way.
Yeah, no.
They roll, they looked at all that sort of stuff as well.
Yeah, we looked at all of that.
That's pretty important.
We've got a question from Councillor Higgins to test his memory. Do you recall any valves being put in place for?
Going back years ago, that square cut over there, we actually done it repair the line. We turned it round about off. We weren't allowed to turn the towers off of those days.
That was river water.
That's river water, yeah, 10-inch and 6-inch lines.
You want to have a chat with Mayor
Actually,
have a chat and just your recollections so that you sort of all on the same page.
yeah, it was quite obvious we turned it off going back years ago without disturbing the whole town.
It was easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that square cut, you know, just in the roundabout over there. Yeah, that's where it went down on it.
But maybe already something in place that we could work with.
But why the water stopped now, a bit of ground movement's pushed that fibre right back together.
Okay. Councillor Higgins, can I prevail on you to have a chat with the Management Engineering Service and just your understanding where various stop valves are and just get part of his document?
I feel that over the last few years, we've replaced a lot of stop valves that didn't need replacing. There wasn't a section in this town we couldn't turn off when I was doing it.
Okay. You might liaise and let's get it as efficient as we possibly can and as we move forward on that particular issue. Any further comments, questions regarding the minutes meeting held on 30th of July? Being nothing further to that, all those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to reports of council, the first of those being the report of the Outback Art Committee and the board meeting held on the 5th of July. Someone have removed that item. Thank you, Councillor Turvey. Second, Councillor Irving. Councillor Turvey.
Yeah, pretty much put in most for that meeting. We ended up trying to be an apology for that meeting just face to face, but when they made it into the Zoom, I was able to give her appointments around, so it's good in part of it. There's been a lot of things happening with how arts are funded within the regions and whatever. So there's still a lot of things waiting to be ironed out. We did have a sort of like an on-the-spot meeting with one of the officials there, where they just came out to find out exactly how Outback Arts operates and what connections we have in dealing with other government bodies. So I don't think there's a government body that we haven't had a go at to see what we can do to make things work within the region. So they were very impressed with what we have been doing. We're going to have another meeting where our next impromptu meeting should be about the 27th of September, but we really have to, this is the board meeting, we really have to wait and see what happens, because we know there are a few of our board members who are anxious to go on Saturday again, so we've just got to wait and see what comes out of that. Apart from that, the other good thing is that we've identified that there's, we do have 3 teachers amongst our board. And luckily enough, they're spread in different directions, which is really good. They're getting together with the executive officer and the admin staff to put together an education package. Back in the days when our executive officer was at uni trying to study the arts herself, because she is qualified in that area. There's just no information of it. There's no people who could go and network with them, and so they've identified that as a project. And that they're currently working their way through that at the moment. The other thing that they're working on is the, and it's been working on for the last few months, is the regional, what do you call it? It's where they have listed all of the various things that are in all of the 7 charters that we cover, so that we do a trail, so that if somebody like the great nomads or whatever, when they get on the road, they'll actually have a list of everything in those 7 charters they could go and see, whether it's in art, whether it's in sculptures, whatever. So that's looking really positive at the moment.
So that information will go to tourist information centres, so you're liaising with them in each.
It's already in there.
Thank you.
So apart from that, I think I've pretty much covered most of what we've discussed on today.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments regarding the Outback Arts board meeting? Councillor Irving.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just pleased to read in the report about Sooty Walsh, having an exhibition at the Australian Museum. That's very impressive, and actually the Bernardos with Outback Arts have been able to secure funding for Sooty to deliver a program for some youth in Warren, which is really exciting because it's opportunity for young people to have a chance to see what can be achieved, Sooty being of the stolen generation. And the other person I noted was mentioned that's also local is Peter Mackey in the video. So it's nice to see Warren actually literally reaping some of the benefits from the Outback Arts. Thank you, Pauline. I'm on council service.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the Outback Arts board meeting? Nothing further, we'll go to all those in favour. Yes, carried. We go on to the second item on our agenda, reports of delegates, that being the Castlereagh and Macquarie County Council meeting held on the 26th of April. Councillor Beach, I'm looking at you. Thank you for moving that. Second, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Beach.
Yes, I'm involved with that, despite being absent at the meeting, Mr. Mayor, but Councillor Brewer's not here today. I can't elaborate too much on the report, but just to say that I think they're financially stable. Just a general comment. I think the field officer they've got these days, Andrea Fletcher, is doing a pretty good job getting around. She's attended the Lion Show and several other shows, and sort of just casing what they're actually doing. I think I haven't actually been up to Light Ridge where they've got the biocontrol of the Hudson there, so it's a good trip to do, and hopefully bring a report back. But that's much what
Councillor Beach, I'm going to ask you for a comment here. That meeting, I'm reading the minutes, started at 10:05, finished at 10:55. Is that a worthwhile use of your time to travel each way for an hour?
What I was going to add, Mr. Greenwich, it's a perfect meeting for a Zoom meeting. Yes, I think they brought it to Canangle to save travel, but like I said, it was an hour over there, an hour for a cup of tea and a yarn. So a Zoom meeting, I mean, it is, and so those guys trying to find competition, whatever, it's a huge commitment for a lot of things to get a team like this. In the last meeting, I recently discussed on Zoom, most of the works field officers and sort of things. That's what it's all about.
Yes, if you and Councillor Brewer were indicating that you wanted to do meetings via Zoom, I don't think you councillors have any problem supporting you in that case, because I just believe that is an onerous obligation to travel that far each way for a meeting less than what the traffic light is. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the, excuse me, Tullamarine County Council meeting? If nothing further, put that, all those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to our policy area, and item 1 of that, vacation care policies, that came out of that board review. Someone happy to move that all those policies be accepted? Thank you, Councillor Sturgis. Second to Councillor Derrick. Councillor Sturgis.
Let me just clarify, I have started to read it, but I'm still working my way through on the phone. The policy, oh, I tell you, 500 pages, it's a bit much. The policies that we already passed a few months back, are they, with relation to the vacation care, are they included in the ones that we've now gotten big bulk?
No.
No, there's 7.
I think, just as a check, there was some in December 2020, there was some in April 2021, and hopefully this is the close to the last, because the blue folder is the hard copy.
Yeah. That's okay. I just wanted to clarify, because some of the names don't sound familiar. Thank you.
So the upshot of this, Councillor, is that we need to adopt all these policies if we are to continue having vacation care. That's the reason. Any further comments, questions regarding, excuse me, vacation care policies before we put that? Nothing further. Put that, all those in favour, against, carried. Moving on to second policy item, that of council access to information. A review of that policy. Someone happy to move that? Councillor Derrick. Second, Councillor Williams. Councillor Derrick.
That's the recommendation, thank you. Fairly straightforward. Your fairly use as well.
The question I would have for the General Manager, I think it notes that access to be provided to the General Manager and in terms of councillors engaging with staff, to the General Manager, but also to managers.
Not just divisional managers, but managers not. Because most of the committees are not just done by divisional managers, they're organised by, like, for example, the town services manager, the roads infrastructure manager, the infrastructure project manager. Like that, so it's manager time. And it's, you know, that's why it has to be a practical policy.
Yeah. No, that's, I understand that, but I think we were probably at times under the impression that the only contact the council or had with members of staff in seeking information to an extent was actually through the General Manager. Practically it doesn't.
What really needs to happen is that the contact with the manager level, the manager is then on the onus to make sure that the supervisor or the divisional manager, and I treat myself as a divisional manager because I have staff reporting directly to me, because I'm just divisional manager, has to keep their supervisors informed of what they're talking about. And you have to work out whether that type of thing should be conveyed to all the councillors, not just the ones.
Yes, I think about that. Yeah. So do we have a view of, is there something in that policy, and if there is option, regarding a councillor asks a manager particular questions about a project, then is that information, how is that's disseminated to that person asking the question, but then how much more broadly is that disseminated?
It's in that's right, and it's in accordance with then the code of conduct to make sure that every council is provided the same type of information.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the council access information policy review? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to the reports, and first of that is, excuse me, of the general manager, the first of those is the outstanding reports checklist. Councillor Sturdy, second. Councillor Taylor, Councillor Sturdy.
Just a couple of clarifications, if I can. The very first one, I think it was at the last meeting that you that's repeated, and you only a couple of days before. You heard anything back from about the black spot in the car?
But they are very, very hard officers to actually contact. The mayor tried several times. We then provided some information to the Telstra manager of kind of that area. Then we've now gone back to talk to them about here is what's planned by the Field Solutions Group. Can we please get involved so we can continue to become a V8 Telstra Shire? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what that one was.
Yes. Yes.
The other question I had was the very last thing on the checklist, which is the final works for the where the water's coming through in the mezzanine. What exactly is the problem? That is the water coming in through the windows, through the windowsills, or you know?
The Sporting Cultural Centre.
Yeah.
Yep. There was at the last Sporting Cultural Centre meeting, I think it actually came to council. So what happens in a quite a heavy rainfall event, there is water ingress into the building. It's some windows, or a window in particular. It's almost the one right above the entrance door. And when a rainfall event occurs, it's pretty solid, water goes into the building. And so that's been investigated, and a local plumber has indicated that due to some reasonable amount of work to actually rectify the problem entirely. What we proposed out of the, or as the manager of the Warren Sporting Culture Centre, to investigate whether part of that work could be done out of this year's budget and then some out of next year's budget. The difficulty was it was better to do the job in one go rather than trying to do a little bit and then do a little bit more. And so that's, but the result of that, the result is that piece of information from the general manager that it's really not possible to actually do it in a piecemeal sort of way. I hope that answers your question in a roundabout way.
So what exactly are they thinking is going to be installed?
Sorry, going to cost.
What's it going to cost?
Oh, Mr. Mayor, larger downpipes, making sure that there's some flashing to stop it from going in and under. About between $35,000 and $40,000 worth of work.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, point out, we haven't failed, but there's no asterisk on any items. There's all of the items are still progressing. We haven't. We're doing lots of work, but not progressing lots of them, but nothing to be completed this to this council meeting. And that's why the recommendation is actually been changed to say that the information be received and noted, because there's actually nothing coming up for this. Can't do everything at the same time all the time.
Thank you.
Very good. Any further comment, Councillor Taylor?
I've got my usual question on the levy thing, Mr. Mayor. I just noticed it's in the hands of those ministers. Why is the first submission is basically not going to get up? Suggested.
We progressed it in time to, just remember which minister, through Sam Barroway's office to Minister Elliott, who's, let's call it Minister for Emergency Services. He's got lots of other things. His office then collects everything up on behalf of the state, meaning all the projects, and then passes it upwards to Little Crown's office. And there was kind of, to a certain degree, our submission missed the boat then. But everyone knew about it, and that's why they're actually progressing it either, in another fashion, round 2 of the same program, or looking for funding from another Commonwealth funding program. We're very, very much on the radar because we got to Elliott's office in time and progressed everything the way we're supposed to, but nothing progressed as well as it should have.
Yeah, there's a little bit of apologetic sort of language coming from our state and federal politicians regarding the matter, in that they understand that we've done everything that we were needed to do. It was, the ball was in their court, and it didn't happen as it should have happened. But certainly, our federal member is acutely aware of the problem, and he's asked the gentleman looking at any avenue we can to progress that matter in terms of funding. I think we'll be, if there is a round 2, which we hope there will be, and he hopes there will be, I think we'll be getting up there towards the my view. Nonetheless, there is a plan in place that the Deputy Mayor and I have been speaking with Managing Engineering Service and the General Manager about. In the event of a potential unfavourable event, we do have a plan
Yes. I just think, again, we should keep knocking on the door, sure.
The matter with when Minister Pitt was here as the Water Minister, that he quite openly said this is not in my jurisdiction, but the matter was raised with him as well, and pointing out why the problem had actually occurred as well, and he's probably less than enamoured with the cause of the problem. You can put it like that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions on item 1 of the General Manager's report, the outstanding reports checklist? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 2 of the General Manager's report is the committee delegates meeting, and I'll ask you to stand in recognition of Warren being a healthy town and to keep awareness of healthy lifestyle. The council will be standing for this. Item 2 of the General Manager's report. Councillor Taro, I think, how's your knee going? Good. Very good. Someone, looking for someone to move item 2 of the General Manager's report. Sorry, Councillor Derrick, seconded. Councillor Bruce, Councillor Derrick.
I've got nothing to add, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, sadly, because of everyone's scared of COVID, there were a couple of meetings that were listed as happening that weren't able to happen. For example, on the 20th of July, the Alliance of Western Council inaugural meeting hasn't happened. Was that about it? Yeah. And just please don't forget your local government week display in Sausage Sizzle on the 6th, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock at the front here. Hopefully it's a beautiful day like that. Have lots of people come along the street to look at what we're doing and what we're up to. And don't forget, it's very important those future meetings that are not on the schedule yet. Don't forget our local Western Local Health District CEO and his number 2 coming along on the 11th of August.
Could be interesting in that, Scott McLaughlin based in Orange.
Yeah, hopefully it's up in 14 days.
Hopefully everything's in train by then, but yes, there may be potential, difficulty.
Sorry, just get back to the local government week. Is the councillors going to man the stand, or are we
No,
required?
staff are going to man, but you can come along and help me man.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether it was a roster system or whether we
No.
were required to be there.
No, Mr Mayor, not required to do it, but hopefully you'll turn up because you'll be able to do some testing of the division manager, finance administration, sausage, chloride, sausage, chloride, very concerned about.
She's a hard barker.
Nice to see you home, Mr Mayor.
Very good.
That's good.
Very good.
Yes,
Might be a good idea for future councillors, want to put that out there, future councillors come along and
Have a look.
have a look as well, so I might put that in the paper as well.
Certainly have put an invite out there, Mr Mayor, for future councillors to come and have a talk to me confidentially about what's expected and that to help them make the decision whether they want to become a future councillor or not.
Could you add some take on that?
One second.
Very good. Any further comments, questions regarding item 2, the general manager report, the committee and delegates meeting agenda? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Still under the report of the general manager, item 3, the works progress report, infrastructure projects. I'm certainly happy to move the recommendation. Here we go, item 3, the report of the general manager. Thank you, Councillor Surtees. Second, Councillor Derrick. Councillor Surtees.
Just one query, if I can, in relation to the splash pad being complete with the, it's not been handed over to the full manager yet. Did I
No, not yet.
Reason for the delay or just?
No, it's just been organised, the whole process.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, something that I believe I've been able to do is where required on each of the projects, I've attempted, I believe 100% right, I've listing the project and its grant funding or whatever, so that's something of interest to councillors.
Yes, I think that's well received, and it does become a little bit confusing. You forget where a particular funding came from. Yeah, and it certainly enables you to thank the right politician, etc., but also our community to understand where the funding's actually come from. So I think the other part of it is that a lot of this, people would, some have asked, why aren't we getting funding for hospitals, etc., etc. All this grant funding is directed at in a particular way, and so it's not transferable to wherever we'd like to see it go. It's actually very specific about where the funding is, and I think sometimes we just need to. We understand it, but I think it's sometimes the wider community needs to understand that we have no say, really, in the broader sense about where that funding actually goes. Any further comments, questions regarding the works progress report on the infrastructure projects?
Yeah, I'll just, a bit on the lines of Councillor Surtees' question. if the pool manager, the handover for, I guess, some of the, induction, you know, for the pool manager for the swimming pool, and the formalisation of the handover, of, I guess, some of those things that have happened at the pool. I just wondered where the pool's at. And also the question, Arena, how we got on there with the assessment of the floor. Two questions, I guess. Thank you.
I'll address the first part of your question to the Manager of Development.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. The handover has been done with the pool. Having trouble getting the painting issue sorted because of COVID lockdown, so having difficulties to source a contractor. So I'm in discussions with the contractor in relation to the painting of the pool. The pool manager is in the process of developing the necessary procedures.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, the second part in relation to the question Arena, the infrastructure project management team has been able to do a reasonable amount of, I'll call it rescoping and programming, not complete works program of everything that's left over. Because that's still to go because we've had so much now added to like the $250,000 from the economic Murray-Darling Basin Economic Development Program round 3, the $841,500 inclusive of GST that added to all the projects that we're still working out and programming, which will eventually go as an information to the Showdown Race Course. But in relation to the equestrian arena, we know to make sure that there's appropriate funding with a bit of pressure on the budget there, and that's why on page 14 you will see in the middle of stronger countries communities round 4. The 671,000 for the Carter Oval change rooms and amenities block that's yet to be funded, and the 95,944 for the equestrian arena. Just make sure that we actually do have the complete proper budget without pressurising other parts of the budget of the whole program that's out there. And what we've actually had a full meeting with the adult riding committee, and the only thing we're really now we're actually getting the sand after several things happen. The lights, the sprinkler system. We're actually going to replace that sand and tidy up the base, and we're still working with a person who and other people to make sure that our sand, we're considering using the same sand again, but making sure that it's right. We're working with that particular person who was suggested by the adult riding group and our geotechnical consultants to make sure that our sand is 100% right. And then that tidy up will happen. Then hopefully the kick rail system and the paths around it. It's the paths around it and some work on the, we'll call it the annex on the side. That is the last 2 bits of priority, and that's where the budget pressure of the whole project happens. The crossing thing is that there isn't really any budget pressure, but as I say, that's why on page 14 we're trying to reduce that problem. Still some complications that we're progressing, but we're progressing it in a positive way. I do believe the adult riding group are doing the right thing, and I'm talking to an expert, this same expert, about how they can operate it properly, which is really important. because they've acknowledged that they're probably will have to learn how to operate it properly for all their different types of ways it's used, whether it's jumps, equestrian, several different ones. But lights are almost finished out there. There's another 2 runs of lights going to happen at either end. Some floodlights going downwards at either end, and floodlights going out on the long side.
Thank you very much. That sounds like you've had successful negotiations with the adult riding.
Still working towards it, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Williamson.
Previous Mayor also went to go with Gary. The actual sand was tested out there. The sand did come back right. So the sand actually put there was tested and with it coming within the margins of being right, so that was fine. But because what's happened out there, that sand can be used again in Warren Shire Council resources. So the sand will be taken off is not going to be wasted. It will be used within Warren Shire Council and other projects we're doing. But to keep the project going forward, we're going to go for a similar sand, but we'll have to make sure that our flooring group is happy with that sand. Is that correct? Yes, thank you.
I think the upside, Councillor, I'll you go, Councillor Direct first.
No, it's in the second time.
Say again, sorry.
No, still, not on that matter, but.
I think the upside is that the adult riding club's person that they were referring to in terms of expert has really come back and indicated we were probably over-engineered what was the foundation. So we're right up to an international standard, which I think is the right way to be. Let's be the best we can be. So there's half a dozen layers underneath the sand layer. And so they will all pretty much stay in place. It's just tidying up the sand layer and getting that the fall exactly right. So I think there's a lot of angst that probably didn't need to occur. And I think fortunately we were very much on the side of doing a better job than is necessary. And so the upside is we got the chance to having some real international events there because it's been done before. So the end result will be excellent. And I commend Councillor Leach particularly for navigating his way through all this showdown race course. I'm just saying things happening out there.
Just through Mr. Mayor, the main problem simply arose because the base went down for the building, whereas the construction people said that should be fine. That's of course just the.
Thank you. But it is very positive out there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Derek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to come back to this for a third time, but I guess I was hoping for a little bit more reassurance in relation to the pool that we're not going to experience issues that we did last year with delayed opening, understanding that there's a lot of things that are beyond our control. We're doing our best, but I guess if there is at all any chance of a delayed opening again this year, that it's more a comment than a question, but I would hope that we're going to be a lot more proactive in terms of our communication around that. And I think the community definitely has a certain expectation that won't happen again. So,
Well, Mr. Mayor, the problem is that there's really no real guarantee in life about it because it's subject to a contractor coming back and us emptying the pool in preparation for that firm to fix it up. And the manager of health and development is attempting to make sure that contractor comes back. But we have to do some, we can't guarantee it because otherwise we have to go and grab him here, and we're trying to do it in a nice way. That's the real problem. He's got some warranty repairs to do, and the manager of health and development is trying to get him here to do it. So I think can't be guaranteed.
I would take a different view, Mr. General Manager. Those people will let us down substantially. I don't think there is a nice way of doing it. They need to be told that's what needs to be done. I'm adamant that we're not going to put up with the sort of rubbish that went on 12 months ago.
It's been put in that terms to in writing.
Could we have a please, as soon as that formalised managed health development, a date of starting, date of finishing, going to war council? Yep. And proposed pool opening is the October long weekend, is it? Yes. Yep. It needs to be out of there at least a few weeks before that, so that the pool water can be in and clear and ready to go. I'll be speaking in the strongest possible terms.
Yes, Mayor, on top of that as well, can we send a letter to the swimming club and just tell them what the position's up to, instead of getting the verbal thing out there and everyone just understands what's happening for us?
Excellent idea.
And pretty straightforward about it, please. So they know out there with the
Copy the council laws and to the swimming club.
contract, yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Drew, for raising that. Any further comments, questions regarding the works progress of infrastructure projects?
Mr. Mayor, on all of these works progress reports, the August council meeting will then have carryover projects and this year's projects included.
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding item 3 of the general manager's report regarding infrastructure projects? Being nothing further, we'll put that all those in favour. Against, carried. Moving on to the report from the Divisional Manager of Finance and Administration. The first of those being the reconciliation certificate. Someone happy to move that? Councillor Williamson, second. Councillor Bruce. Councillor Williamson.
Oh, it's great to see some infrastructure money's come in and some loan money, and we're back up in the double digits.
Manager of Finance and Administration, can I ask you a couple of questions, just explaining those transactions that did occur in each of our funds there. So, income in regard to the general fund of 22739, the water fund income of 622, sewage fund 14, just where those three particularly, is there a breakdown, just in a rough numbers, how they occurred?
Mr. Mayor, water fund simply $750,000 loan.
Yep.
Sewer fund likewise $2.5 million loan, less payment to London. And general fund $750,000 loan for the rebuild. And $2 million could be rates, could be grants coming through from the, or they go running down, sorry.
Yep. So that loan funding is actually.
That loan funding is incorporated in those.
Those numbers. Thank you.
That's why we went from 4 million or something last month to just, 9 million. But the thing about
Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the reconciliation certificate? All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 2 of the Divisional Manager's report. Division Manager Finance report, that's been statement of rates and annual charges. So we're happy to move that. Councillor Sergi, second. Councillor Drews, Councillor Sergi.
It's just good to see the figures still up there.
Thank you. Anything further on item 2 of the Divisional Manager Finance report? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 3 of the Divisional Manager Finance Administration report. Note that Councillor Derrick has excused herself from the meeting. Someone happy to move that report? The works progress report, Manager Finance Administration. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Second to Councillor Beach. Councillor Williamson.
I'll look to moving forward, I think we've did a great amount of work here for money we had available. I think the community, what they actually did.
I think Councillor, we can just further that if we, maybe find administration, if we were to consider opening the building at the next council meeting, is there any, well, do you envisage any problem with that, given there's a little bits of work still to do potentially, or can we have that, the budget exhausted by that time? How are you thinking there?
Through Mayor, I'll put some pressure on our sign line to get that stuff done from the building here and the front entrance. Not sure what's happening with A1 Glass with regard to the community, the interview room. I'll have to go to our project manager to see if he knows when that might be due out. I couldn't tell you an answer on that one at this stage, but certainly they're getting the frosting of the glass and that done. We're sort of holding up until that interview room comes in, we can do the whole lot once. But we may need to just do the interview room.
Probably up to, we could have a pretty tidy, presentable.
Yeah, I just trying to make sure we have the logo on the front entrance on the wall, sure. If we haven't got the interview room, I don't think that's going to be a big drama, but then have all the signs on the floor doors and all these just to be put up and things like that. And other than that, and have the front frosting on here, then we'll be able to certainly is part of it, finished then, for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Any further comments, questions regarding the work progress report from the Division of Land Finance Administration? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Ask for Councillor Derrick to just resume her place. Moving on to item 4, the Divisional Management Finance Administration's report, that being the librarian's report on the operation of the Longshire Library, moved by Councillor Thurlby, excuse me, seconded by Councillor Irving. Councillor Thurlby.
She's given a quite a comprehensive report as to what's been happening in there. The outreach services are going really, really well. As part of those outreach services, they do provide the craft on the various days when they go to the schools and whatever. They've now got a pop-up library in the Clara House, which is changed on I'm not sure if it's a 4 to 6 week basis that the new books come in and, swap around. It's going very well. Mainly because of the fact that they can't come out to our areas anymore. The movie days, I know we had to put on hold purely for that reason again, the fact that a lot of the scenes that were coming to those were either Clara House or my old home care. And then that's just not happening now at the moment. So she's making as much use of what she can of the restrictions that are now put in place. There's another big event which is in June, September, I can't remember the date of it, but it's going to be, if COVID still allows us, it'll be a big event for the kids over at the park with sausage sizzling and all the rest of it. It'll be on a Monday, they're just hoping just to stuff it up. Apart from that, yeah, I think pretty much is everything in there. I know from the last couple of zone meetings that we've had that Pam is now the secretary for the Central West Zone Libraries, and she's also now representing these smaller libraries with the ALIA main body in Sydney. They pay for all the flights and what have you there for those, so we're getting good representation out of the fact that we are a small library, and she's quite well up on the small library stuff. So yeah, all the information is getting out there, moving around. Things happening. The 4 libraries are going really well. given that it's just all to do with now COVID with the restrictions, if you're alone now, the corporate's got to come back, it's got to go into isolation for a while until all cleanups and whatever else is done to it, so it all takes time to get those things done, so. Yeah, apart from that, going well.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor
We're
Sutton.
happy with what's happening in the States, but, even with the historical meetings and what have you, we usually get about a good roll of about 10, I think we had on the last one, which is interesting, because people out there still willing to come in and name what we know, so.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Any further comments, questions regarding the librarian report? Councillor Sutton.
Our library does really well. I just had something come to my attention relatively recently. Well, it was when we did have a doctor who's a locum, I'm not sure, but the library was closed on the Monday, and then because of the outreach program, and then he noticed that it was closed at lunchtime, and he commented that he wouldn't be able to do his exam because of this situation in the library, and that really concerned me. And that I really just, I've just been thinking of that, and whether I know that it requires funds to keep, get extra staff, keep the library open on a Monday or open at lunchtime. I just wondered whether at some point we can assess that situation obviously for people like a doctor who was going to stay in Warren but didn't because they couldn't do their further education with their exams. So it might be a factor that we could look at. So,
can I ask a question? Did he actually contact the library to find out if they would, what preparations could be made for him to get in there to get access onto the day? Did he end up getting in touch with them?
I don't know. I didn't. Yeah, I don't.
The library also still remains open because they've staggered the staff, but if they've got somebody who's called in sick or whatever, they're not allowed to have the place open if there's only the one staff in there. It still has to close down for security reasons and all the rest of that. So I'm just wondering if he actually got in touch with the library to find out if he could go in to do what he needed to do for his. So what was it he wasn't able to do? Was it
an online exam?
So he needed online
It was
access.
just something, I didn't follow that up because I thought that he would do that. I didn't think I should do that. But yeah, I just thought that I would bring it to our attention so that we might be able to down the track hopefully have more funding to keep the library open. Especially with people like that who are used to the services, I guess, like Sydney, for example, where they are open every day, all day, and we're trying to attract these people to come to Warren. And I know it's hard without funding. Our budget, we don't have it really. That's what we could do about it.
Something to find out what provisions are in place for something like that. Wouldn't be a problem. I think we could do that anymore.
I think it's the manager's job.
I think we can investigate that and just see what the demand is for that sort of service and what the special is. The Divisional Land and Compliance Administration to talk to the librarian and work out the best way forward in that space. Yeah.
There's always someone in the library on Monday. In that scenario, if they have contacted the librarian or council, we could have accommodated that to that point.
Thank you. Thanks for raising that though, Councillor. Yeah. Any further comments, questions regarding the librarian's report? Management Finance Administration report, item 4. Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carry it. Moving on to the reports of the Division Manager of Engineering Services. The first of those being the works progress report regarding the road. Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Moved. Second, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Williamson.
Well, first I'd just like to, that report's been better and better. It's really good to see what's in there. It's good for us as councillors and also as the community. A couple of questions. One of the major ones is the speeds on the roads. Yeah, I know we get calibration and everything, but there's a couple of roads there where they're pretty high. I didn't know big doubles were allowed to do
Go that last
that.
exactly.
Through Mr. Mayor, Manager of Engineering.
Perhaps move along rather quickly, let me assure you, I mean, and there's not a lot of matter and they've got time commitments and they try and get to that, keep to those time commitments. I mean, there's not a lot we can do about it, I mean, you know, it's sure, it's a police matter, but, or a Department of Transport matter, but the roads there, the speed limits that, and I don't think the truck can reach that speed limit, or much that, I'm sure they keep on my side quite often, but, what we can do,
So those types of speeds have been like that for 30 years, waiting for someone to do some silly speeds.
Okay, 3 years from now, I think our roads are pretty quality like that.
Too good, Councillor Moon.
we need to keep, Mr. Mayor, we need more money to keep the additional.
I think it's just when you're talking about the roads and the traffic counters, etc. I think there's some interesting numbers there, and that I'm looking at the Tottenham Road. Tottenham Road. That's what we call it. Yep. 30% of vehicles are commercial vehicles, and that's what we do bang on about how big a percentage of commercial vehicles are on what is our local road there. And then even industrial access road, there's 30% there actually turn, but they must be going towards the gym because it's one more saying 20% or something like for heavy vehicles closer to the Jack Goddard Bridge. Then the other side is saying 30% of, I think it is rough numbers, I've forgotten, I'll leave it on the phone again, obviously. But there is a big percentage of commercial vehicles on those roads. You contrast that with a regional road, which is Tremie Collide, that's not as high. So there's really more commercial vehicles on our local roads with those two sections than there are on a region, what is a regional road. So I think we have some very, very acutely aware of that he does have the numbers to substantiate any argument about moving that road classification to something where we get some more external funding and recognition that road of strategic importance in the inland flatbed. There, all those numbers are just telling you what you know.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the amazing thing about it is in all those numbers, they do not include the B triples that go through to them. Believe it or not, I don't think the B triples are yet to be approved on the industrial access road. Right? There was a house that was brought to my attention, and when I was going to get it in, I know it's been registered, whether it's been approved or not, it's a process that the Department of Transport has to register that, and we have no objection to it. They will assess it. The bridges, which they've already asked, and bridges are all can carry that weight, so there shouldn't be any hold up, but I don't think it's been recognised yet, so that's why I still see a number of B triples coming around the railway.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments regarding the road works progress report? Nothing further. Put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 2, the Division Manager Engineering Services Report, that being the Town Services Works Progress Report. Someone happy to move that? Councillor Ernie, seconding Councillor Sturdy. Councillor Ernie.
Happy to move that report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
A couple of questions, if I might. And then go to the first one, that the high road turf around the outdoor netball court seems to be going reasonably well. Just a layperson's viewing of it, is that your estimation?
Yes, it's going on. I think when the spring comes along, we'll get a little bit more activity there, the rest of the activity.
and that would be what wants to, some effects on.
It seems to be progressing to a certain extent anyway. Quite good. Second one, installation of the toilet in the cemetery, is that complete yet, or how we?
It's not, the toilets out there are not yet in operation because of the missing parts, or running still parts.
Far away?
No.
No. Thank you. Anything further on the management engineering search regarding the town services progress report, what's progress report? Nothing further, let's flip back. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 3, it's the division manager of engineering's report regarding the fleet and workshop. With progress report, someone has to move that. Councillor Williamson. Second, Councillor Drews. Councillor Williamson.
I was moving the report that the staff who got down there and they get through a fair bit of work. So they're doing a really good job. It's going to be late for rolling to enter down there and get started. I said we've done a lot of work.
Any further on item 3, the division manager engineering services report regarding the fleet / workshop? Being nothing, we'll put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Now, we want to report the reports of the manager of health and development. The first one of those being the development application approvals. Someone have to move that. Thank you, Councillor Drews. Second, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Drews.
Just happy to move the recommendation, thank you.
Nothing further. Put that, all those in favour? Against? Carried. Moving on to item 2 of the manager of health and development's report. That relates to the works progress report. Someone happy to move that? Councillor Williamson, second. Councillor Taylor. Councillor Williamson.
With the recommendation, there's only one thing for me, is that I'm looking forward to the report in August about the 2 dwellings, what we did, finding out that's up there. It's really good to have it in the federal council.
Yeah, so we'll look forward to report, as you're saying, Councillor Williamson, to the next meeting and finding out exactly what our way forward is with those particular dwellings. Thank you. Anything further regarding the work progress report for the divisional or for the manager of health and development?
Just one question. Just in relation to the transfer station, it says the final design is underway. We're going to do a bit more on that one. I think it was the manager engineering services. We were doing that, the design.
On the transfer station.
Yeah.
Transfer station, okay. It's in the hands of the consultant of problems, and in the hands of the consultant at the moment. The consultant communicated with us last night. Just on the footings, we have to change design of the footings, strengthen the footings, but we're taking the angles and that out of it. I would say we'll get the final drawing possibly by not final drawing by Friday. They've already agreed to rock and roll by late the following week, and that will connect pretty quickly. The pipes, I spoke with the manager of technical town services this morning. He was discussing with me the order of some of the materials for the stormwater, so they'll be on their way as well. The progress of the works will be the stormwater will go in first. Now, the only problem we have at the moment is a lot of water in that dam, so we will be pumping some of it out to start the year.
And and information, and then hopefully, we'll kind of like with the normal ways, Defo will be looking at some as an information report to them. Probably a bit of an inspection out there, we just, between the three officers who are looking after, they're attempting to make sure they've got a final design and final check of the scope and a final check of the budget, and an information report to the committee, and probably give them an inspection.
Thank you.
Just a question, so will we be having, our meeting on the 3rd of August? It's
Maybe, Mr Mayor,
Maybe.
what we're trying to aim for, but if things are delayed, we might have to change it slightly.
It'll be in
Time-wise,
August, hopefully.
hopefully, yeah.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments regarding the works progress report? Land Health and Development? Being nothing further, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7 on our agenda, we have no notice of motion or questions with notice. I have no matters of urgency unless some other councillor has a matter of urgency. No confidential matters. We can conclude the meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 10:10.